Hello and welcome to my channel. If you've seen the movie The Flight of the Navigator, you might recognise this little guy. He's called the Puckmaren, and I'm going to have a go at making him. But first I need a few supplies. So we have some kitchen foil, a 10mm tube, some modelling wire and some foam clay. First of all we need a skeleton of some sort, and that's where the wire comes into play. And this is why it's also useful to have a sketch or print out so you can compare sizes. So using a pair of pliers I wrap the wires together. Since I'm making the leg, I need to make sure I have 3 toes. Once those are in position, I use some tape to hold them together. This can be fine-tuned later, but for now, just as long as the 3 pieces are the same length. Then I wrap the end around the tube and force them to curve round. This will help it hang off a branch later. Next, I double up the foil and wrap it around the body area. And bear in mind, when you add the foam, it will thicken out a lot more. And then it should look something like this. I keep the body, arms and head separate to make them easier to sculpt. So first of all I tear off some foam clay, roll it into a ball, then into a snake, and apply it to the first area, which is going to be the arm. So I wrap it around the wire and blend it in, and then sculpt on the detail. I'm going to have to wait for this piece of clay to harden before I move on to the fingers, otherwise I'll end up squashing and reshaping everything. So the fingers slide onto the wire with very little effort. It's just a matter of blending them in, adding on the detail, such as the suction cup at the tip, and then repeat until all the fingers are done. After looking at the source material again, I realised there were 4 fingers and not 3, so I added on the 4th. I made the toes in the same way, then I moved on to the body. And for that, I flattened a sheet of foam and wrapped it around the foil. Then I smoothed over the edges where the old and new foam joined together. After that I could sculpt on the detail. The markings are a bit thicker and deeper than on the fingers and toes. Thankfully the sculpting tool made light work of that. The head is the most complicated piece. I'm going to need to put the base on first, and then give that a chance to harden before I do anything else. I realised pretty quickly that with the foil underneath I didn't have a lot of flexibility with the sculpting. So I scrapped this plan, rolled up a new ball, and this time I didn't have any foil core. So now I had no restrictions in sculpting the face. So as each section hardened, I added on the next. So I slowly built it up and added on the layers. The eyeballs were very easy to create. I created a ball and pushed it in, and it filled out exactly where I needed to go. The ear stalks were also quite easy to make. I just rolled up a short snake and pushed it into the head. And then I found an acorn shaped sculpting tool and pushed that into the end, and that gave me the ear. I just had a few tiny bits to add, then that's the head done. Since this is the focal point, I need to make sure I'm happy with this before I move on, and I am. I didn't realise until just now that this creature can't hang without an opposable toe. So I quickly knock one up and sculpt it to match the others. Now all the body parts are completed, they just need joining together. The wire will hold it into place temporarily, while the foam clay holds it in place permanently. So I'll mould the shoulder and blend it all in, and then repeat the same process for the other arm. And then I can pin the head onto the shoulders, and then create the neck, which will join both halves together. For the perch, I shoved some scrap PVC into the end of the tube, and then covered it in foam clay to create a branch. And to achieve that, I have to make sure the surfaces are not perfectly smooth. And this is how everything's looking so far. I don't think it's looking too bad for something that's completely handmade, but I guarantee it will look much better once painted, so let's crack on with that. I'm wanting a clear distinction between the creature and the branch, so I'll paint the branch a much lighter shade of brown, and then I randomly add on some liquid brown shoe polish. This will help to create a non-uniform look, more akin to what you find in nature. For the Puckmaren itself, I gave it a dark brown base coat, and on top of that I dry brush on some burnt orange. I also added a lighter colour on top of that for enhanced highlight. This also helps to add some colour variation to the flesh. For the recessed areas I just painted on a solid colour. I just made sure it's a very similar tone to the rest of the creature. For the tongue I chose a dark red, I didn't want it to stand out too much. For the eyeballs I chose a bright white. The irises on the source material are a green colour, so I matched them up and tried my best to make them look even. and the easiest way of adding the pupil is with a black pen, as you can create a circle more naturally than with a brush. Eyes naturally have a shine to them, so I'll make sure I go over with some gloss paint, and the tongue gets the same touch. And with that, the Puckmaren is complete. I have a couple of facts to share from the film. The Puckmaren is from the planet Puckmaren, and he's the very last of his species. And if you haven't seen the film, it's well worth checking out, as it's one of my childhood favourites. I also glued a magnet to the end of the tree branch, so this little guy can just hang around. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.